Hi, name's Lisa, and today I'm going to read you two stories from Frog and Toads Are Friends by Arnold LeBeau. This story is called The Lost Button. Toad and Frog went for a long walk. They walked across a large meadow. They walked in the woods. They walked along the river. At last they went back home to Toad's house. "Oh, drat," said Toad. "Not only do my feet hurt, but I've lost one of the buttons on my jacket." "Don't worry," said Frog. "We'll go back to all the places where we walked, and we'll soon find your button." They walked back to the large meadow, and they began to look for the button in the tall grass. "Here's your button," cried Frog. "That's not my button," said Toad. "That button is black, and my button is white." Toad put the black button in his pocket. A sparrow flew down. "Excuse me," said the sparrow, "did you lose a button? Because I found one." "That's not my button," said Toad. "That button has 2 holes, while my button has 4 holes." Toad put the button with 2 holes in his pocket. They went back to the woods and looked on the dark paths. "Here's your button," said Frog. "That's not my button," said Toad. "That button is small, and my button was big." Toad put the small button in his pocket. A raccoon came out from behind a tree. "I heard you were looking for a button," he said. "Here is one that I just found." "But that's not my button," wailed Toad. "That button is square, and my button is round." Toad put the square button in his pocket. Frog and Toad went back to the river, and they looked for the button in the mud. "Here's your button," said Frog. "That is not my button," shouted Toad. "That button is thin, and my button is thick." Who are all these people losing buttons? Toad put the thin button in his pocket. He was very angry. He jumped up and down and screamed, "The whole world is covered with buttons, and not one of them is mine." There he is, getting angry. Toad ran home and slammed the door, and there on the floor he saw his white, 4-holed, big, round, thick button. "Oh," said Toad, "it was here all the time. What a lot of trouble I have made for Frog." There he is, finding his button on the floor. Toad took all the buttons out of his pocket, and he took his sewing box down from the shelf. And Toad sewed the buttons all over his jacket. There he is. The next day, Toad gave his jacket to Frog, and Frog thought it was beautiful. He put it on and jumped for joy, and none of the buttons fell off. Toad had sewed them very well. That's the end of the story, The Lost Button. Now we're going to read The Swim. Toad and Frog went down to the river. "What a day for a swim," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad. "I'll go behind these rocks and put on my bathing suit." "I don't wear a bathing suit," said Frog. "Well, I do," said Toad. "After I put on my bathing suit, you must not look at me until I get in the water." And there they are, getting their bathing suits on. Well, Toad's getting his on. Frog just goes without one. "Why not?" asked Frog. "Because I look funny in my bathing suit. That's why," said Toad. Frog closed his eyes when Toad came from out behind the rocks. Toad was wearing his bathing suit. "Don't peek," he said. Frog and Toad jumped in the water, and they swam all afternoon. Frog swam fast and made big splashes. Toad swam slowly and made smaller splashes. So there they are, swimming in the water. A turtle came along the riverbank. "Frog, tell that turtle to go away," said Toad. "I don't want him to see me in my bathing suit when I come out of the river." Frog swam over to the turtle. "Turtle," said Frog, "you will have to go away." "Why should I?" asked the turtle. "Because Toad thinks his bathing suit looks funny, and he doesn't want you to see him," said Frog. There he is, trying to convince the turtle to go away. Some lizards were sitting nearby. "Does Toad really look funny in his bathing suit?" they asked. And a snake crawled out of the grass. "If Toad looks funny in his bathing suit," said the snake, "then I, for one, want to see it." "Oh no, now a bunch of people, a bunch of animals are gathering around. We want to see it too, said two dragonflies. Me too, said a field mouse. I have not seen anything funny in a long time. I think Toad's in trouble. Frog swam back to Toad. I'm sorry, Toad, he said. Everyone wants to see how you will look. Then I will stay right here until they go away, said Toad. The turtle and the lizards and the snake and the dragonflies and the field mouse all just sat on the riverbank. They waited for Toad to come out of the water. Please, cried Frog, please go away. But no one went away. Toad was getting colder and colder, and he began to shiver and sneeze. I'll have to come out of the water, said Toad. I'm catching a cold. Toad climbed out of the river. The water dripped off his bathing suit, down onto his feet. You want to see what he looks like? There he is in his bathing suit. The turtle laughed, the lizards laughed, the snake laughed, the field mouse laughed, and Frog laughed. What are you laughing at, Frog, said Toad. I'm laughing at you, Toad, said Frog, because you do look funny in your bathing suit. Of course I do, said Toad. Then he picked up his clothes and went home. The last chapter we're going to read is called The Letter. The letter. Toad was sitting on the front porch and Frog came along and said, What's the matter, Toad? You look sad. Yes, said Toad, this is my sad time of day. It is the time when I wait for the mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy. Why is that? Asked Frog. Because I never get any mail, said Toad. Not ever, said Frog. No, never, said Toad. No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That's why I'm waiting for the mail. It's a sad time for me. Frog and Toad sat on the porch feeling sad together. There they are sitting sad together looking at the mailbox. Then Frog said, I have to go home now, Toad. There's something I must do. And Frog hurried home. He found a pencil and a piece of paper and he wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope and on the envelope he wrote, A letter for Toad. Frog ran out of his house and he saw a snail that he knew. Snail, said Frog, please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox. Sure, said the snail, right away. So there he is writing the letter. He's handing the letter to a snail. You guys see any trouble with this? I see trouble brewing. Then Frog ran back to Toad's house. Toad was in bed taking a nap. Toad, said Frog, I think you should get up and wait for some mail some more. No, said Toad, I'm tired of waiting for the mail. Frog looked out the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. Toad, said Frog, you never know when someone may send you a letter. No, no, said Toad, I do not think anyone will send me a letter. There he is waiting in bed, and there's Frog looking outside for the snail. Do you know what snails are known for? Snails are known for being slow. Frog looked out the window, and the snail was not there yet. But Toad, said Frog, someone may send you a letter today. Don't be silly, said Toad. No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today. Frog looked out the window. The snail was still not there. Frog, why do you keep looking out the window? Asked Toad. Because now I'm waiting for the mail, said Frog. But there will not be any, said Toad. Oh, yes, there will, said Frog, because I sent you a letter. You have, said Toad. What did you write in the letter? Frog said, I wrote, Dear Toad, I'm glad that you're my best friend. Your best friend, Frog. Oh, said Toad, that makes a very good letter. Then Frog and Toad went out onto the front porch to wait for the mail. They sat there feeling happy together. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog, and Toad was very pleased to have it. And that's the end of the book, Frog and Toad Are Friends, by Arnold LaBelle. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Bye!